Hello everyone. This is my fourth test with the resin lace effect, and I'm going back to the 27 degrees resin temperature of 27 degrees. You can see it on my tool, and but now I'm going to add 10 drops. I mentioned it in my previous video. I want to see if the white pigment paste affect the lacing. Because in my previous video you saw that the temperature was yeah, I think it was too high. So I want to see if I go back to the 27 degrees and add 10 drops of pigment paste in 15 grams of resin, if that will change the lacing. So you saw me add 15 grams of resin into my paper cup. Now I'm going to add 10 drops of my Moonlight white pigment paste. You can find this pigment paste in my Etsy shop. I'm also going to use the same mold, the Geode tray mold of 20 centimeters. You can find the link to this Geode tray mold in the description below this video. It's a silicone mold from Molds and Shapes. And I also have a promo code. And my promo code is JustPaint10. You can find my promo code also in the description. But if you use my code, you will get 10% discount. So that's nice. So I mixed the white resin, and now I'm going to pour it against the edge of the silicone mold. There you can see it. I'm not going to use a lot of white. And I'm having so much fun doing these tests for you all. It's very helpful, also for myself. And I'm not done with testing it because I want to test this also in another mold. But I also got a request if I could do these tests with alcohol ink. I'm now using resin ink from Etter Art, but I got a request to use alcohol ink. So I will also do some tests with that to see if that changes the lacing. I'm going to add the clear resin in the center and then to the outside. There you can see it. And I'm not going to fill the whole mold. There are some, yeah, I think 2 millimeters left. So if you want to do a clear resin layer, then that is possible. And I already can see a difference because the white is flowing to the center again. In my previous video, it didn't flow to the center because the resin was way too thick. So the first color I'm using is from At Art. As I mentioned, it's a resin ink and it's called Campari. I like this color very much. It's very bright. Only one drop. And then the second color is called Grape Purple. That's for the center. And I'm also going to add some nice glitters. And I'm using a mixture of 3 different materials. The first one is a very nice iridescent glitter, and it's called Fairy Purple. You can find this one in my Etsy shop. I have a lot of colors. The second one is a crystal glass in the color Bright Gold. Also, this one you can find in my Etsy shop. And the last one is a super sharp glitter in the color Silver Pink. So I think that will be nice for the center of this Geode tray. And I always add a little bit of resin to these glitters. And then I add it into the center. Yeah, and I'm getting the same effects in the white, what I also had in my second test. And yeah, I like it very much. But also in my first test. But then the white dots on the other side of the tray were not that nice. So hopefully this will be okay. So this is right after pouring. I will show you a close-up, then you can see the white much better. Yeah, I'm really liking this effect, what the white gives me. So I'm very pleased with my pigment paste. The center is also very nice. You can already see some color on the other side of the tray, the Campari color. So I'm very curious how it looks on the other side. So we are 1 hour later, and I'm having the same effect what I already mentioned, what I got in my first test and in my second test. The nice effect in a white and the lines that go from the outside to the inside, so very nice. Center is pretty. And you see some color, the Campari color underneath the white lines, so that's great. But yeah, I need to let this dry for 24 hours. So it's 24 hours later, and now I'm going to take the Geode tray out of the mold. And we'll also compare this one with the first 3 tests that I did. Then you can see the difference is much better. So I need to be careful because it's still a little bit bendy. But this side looks already very pretty. So I'm happy with because I like it if both sides are pretty. And what I also can see is a second ring against, no, not against, but hopefully you know what I try to explain. But there's a second ring below the white lines. So that's nice. So now the other side. Yeah, very pretty. Yeah, I like the colors and I like the second ring. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain to you. But there is a white edge and a little bit to the inside there is a second ring. I don't know how I did that, but yeah, I like it. So now the comparison. The first test I did, yeah, I just made it. I don't know how much white I added to it. Um, the resin temperature was 23 degrees. But yeah, my first test. Very pretty. Then the second test, the resin temperature higher, 27 degrees, and 8 drops of white pigment paste. That one I like very much. And then the third test, a resin temperature of 29 degrees, and I added 10 drops of white pigment paste. And the last one, back to the 27 degrees resin temperature and 10 drops of white pigment. So you can see if you add 8 drops or 10 drops, it doesn't matter. You have this effect. The temperature is very important if you want to create this effect. The higher the temperature, then you will get no dots, no lines. You can see it in the tests. I'm showing you it. So I like the second and the fourth. So this is the end result. I like this one very much. I like the second ring. It gives a lot of depth. So what I mentioned, if you add a little bit more white pigment paste or less, it doesn't matter. You get this effect. It all has to do with the resin temperature. So I'm going to do more tests because I got that request, but then with alcohol ink instead of resin ink. And I think I'm going to start with a temperature of 25 degrees, so 2 degrees lower than this one, to see what effect I will get with that. But I'm very pleased with these tests. I'm also having a lot of fun with it. And I want to try this lace effect in another mold and also a larger mold. This one is 20 centimeters, but maybe I want to try this technique in a 25 centimeter silicone mold and also a different kind. Very pretty. And this is the other side. There is a lot of depth because of that second ring. I like the effect of that. Maybe, yeah, I need to look back to see what I did because I like that second ring very much. So let me know what you think of my tests and this last Geode tray. And I'm very curious. I want to thank you all for watching again, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!